everyone, my name is Ashley and welcome to my watercolor YouTube channel. Normally I do tutorials of whatever paintings I'm working on at the moment or whatever you recommend to me, but today I thought it would be good to go over the supplies that I use. I've been painting for about 5 years, so I've tried a lot of different products and I'd love to save you some time and some money by showing you what I use and what I recommend. So mainly I'm going to talk about paper, brushes, and paints, but I'll also show you some other tips that I have for supplies. So number one, we'll talk about paper. I've tried a lot of different papers over the past couple of years, and there's a difference between like cold pressed and hot pressed and all these cotton paper, all these different kinds of paper. But for me, as someone who sells my art but also does it as a hobby as well, I'm not interested in super expensive paper. Of course, there's a difference in quality and you can test out different kinds. You could just get one sheet here and there. But for me, the one that I've found to be the most just a good value for quality and price is Canson. So, this is not sponsored, by the way, this is just what I use. So this Canson paper is just a really good all around, it's a cold pressed and it comes in all different sizes. So this is a 9x12, this is what I typically use, and I'll cut it down to a 5x7, 8x10, whatever. But generally I use Canson, and I've just found that of any of the cheap brands that I have tried from any general art store or anything like that, this is the best one. So this holds the most water and pigment, and I find that it doesn't bend quite as much as some of the other papers that don't hold very much water, and I find that it keeps the pigment really bright. So that's why I like this paper, so that's where I would start. So when I started painting, I used these kits, these prang kits. Honestly, I think I got it from like Walmart for $2. And I was traveling, was just moving abroad at the time, so I wanted something that was portable. And this is a really easy set to find, they're really cheap. And it works pretty well. I mean, I can show you actually this painting here. This is actually one of my favorite paintings that I've done. This one was done with this $2 set of watercolors. So, just goes to show you don't have to have super expensive supplies to make a decent piece of art. I mean, I think this is a decent piece of art, hopefully you agree. But yeah, this is what I started with the first maybe 3 years of painting. And then finally, I thought, well, if I'm going to start selling art, maybe I should get something that's a little bit higher quality, but I didn't really want to buy anything like artist grade because those can be very expensive. I was a college student, didn't have that kind of money. So I'm talking like $20 a tube. So I tried something, I looked into different tubes and I got these Reeves Tubes. And these are pretty good. These are pretty good quality. They're nice and bright pigment. You can mix them really well. They're a good deal. I think it was like 20 bucks for this whole set. And it comes with white actually, which is not typical for a watercolor set at all. But these I found work pretty well. But I personally have found that my favorite is this brand Prima Marketing watercolors. So they come in different palettes. You can get a typical palette. You can get skin color palettes. You can get outdoor palettes. This one, I've moved some of these around, but this is like a water, it's called Current, so it's like watercolors, colors of water, like blues. This one is Tropicals, so this one has like more tropical kind of colors. This one is Woodlands, which is the one that I use pretty much for every painting that I'm doing. So the thing that I like about these is that you don't have to mix a lot of colors. So if that's scary to you, or if you just want to have consistent colors, it comes with whatever set that you buy. You can pick your favorite colors and it'll make all of your paintings consistent, help you develop your style. Also, just a note that I've had these for about 2 years now maybe. And you can hardly tell that they've even been used because, well, I mean, it's messy, but as far as the quantity that's left, because you don't need much to have a really vibrant color. And so I found that that's really nice, and they're a lot more vibrant than the other two brands that I just showed you, and because you don't have to mix them, you don't have to water them down as much, all of that, you don't have to use as much of them. I've found that they work really well, especially with that paper, that Canson paper that I just told you about. For me, they've been great quality. I have not wanted to upgrade. I'm sure artist quality tubes might be better, but for me, this does the job, and honestly this is what I recommend to everyone that asks me what paints I use. I say use Prima by Prima. They're $20 a tin about on Amazon. I'll link all of this in the description of this video. I'll send you a link with all of these different products. Okay, now moving on to brushes. So like I said, I first started painting with that $2 set of paints, and you can bet that I did not spend a lot of money on brushes either. I'd had some brushes kind of laying around the house from other projects, so I started using those honestly, and that worked just fine. I mean, this one that I showed you, I don't even know what kind of brush I used. Probably something really cheap and not very good. But that's okay. I mean, it worked out. So basically now this is the brush that I use probably 90% of the time. I got this at Hobby Lobby. It's a size 6 round. It is synthetic squirrel hair brush. And the thing that I like about it is that it's, you can see it's thicker on the bottom and it's pointy on the top. Therefore, you can do tiny, tiny little details, or you can press down and have a lot larger stroke, fill a lot more area. Okay, also on hand, I like to have a large filbert brush. This is just good for different shapes. This one, honestly, I think is from Target, and it holds a lot of water, came in a kit, so that's what I kind of try to find, is something that is soft, that will hold water and hold pigment, that won't rough up my paper. You don't want to ruin your paper when you're painting. This is a medium-sized kind of filbert. This is good for like straight lines sometimes, or when I'm spreading things out more, maybe I'm doing a watercolor wash, I want more surface area. And then I keep one like really, really tiny round brush, just in case I'm working with two different colors. Maybe I want to use this for larger strokes and this for smaller, so I'll just switch back and forth and not have to keep rinsing my brush. So generally I just use 1 or 2 brushes. If I'm doing a bigger piece that I'm switching back and forth a lot, maybe a couple more, but I would recommend having round brushes that are soft bristles. Synthetic squirrel hair works really well for me. Those are things that it's hard to buy online. I've found that any brushes that I've ordered online, I just haven't quite liked as much as I thought I would, because I haven't been able to feel it and see it and to really see the size and feel it in my hand, to feel the weight and the shape of it. So I order my papers online because obviously once you've used it once, you know whether you like it or not. I order my paints online because I know the brand that I like, but brushes for me, I generally try to go into the store and pick one out. And so that's kind of the basics. Honestly, you can, I mean, like I said, this is maybe $5 for a pad of this paper, $2 for that cheap watercolor, and $1 or $2 for a brush, and you've got yourself a starter kit. I've slowly upgraded that into some other things that I'll show you. I tend to use, when I'm outlining something, I can use real pencil sometimes, but a lot of the time what I like to do is use watercolor pencils. And these are nice because they are the specific colors of whatever you're working with. So for example, if I'm doing like a sunflower, maybe I would outline it in yellow. And then when I put water on top of it, it actually lightens and kind of starts to diffuse the pencil line. So you don't end up with those like harsh pencil lines of like a graphite pencil when you're done with your painting. So those can be really, really nice. Also, again, super cheap. You can find those basically anywhere. I'll link this one in the description. Also, I use something called washi tape. This is a Japanese paper tape. So if I'm doing a painting, for example, like this one, where I want crisp edges on the outside, sometimes I'll do something more loose like this. That's good. But if I'm doing something that has crisp edges, then I'm going to want to put washi tape on the edges. And I mean, hypothetically, you could use painter's tape or something like that, but for me, what I found is best so that the edges don't get ripped up when I pull the tape off, is this washi tape. And it works great. It's water resistant. It never bleeds or anything like that. Again, you can get that basically anywhere. I will link that as well. But that's also something that's good if, for example, maybe like, actually this painting is a good example of it too, that has a lot of water on it. So like I said, this watercolor paper that I'm recommending is a good quality, but it's not the best quality. So sometimes if you put a lot of water on it, it will start to bend the paper, and you'll find that when it's dry, it'll have like these creases in it or something like that. So putting the tape on it and letting it sit on a tabletop and completely dry that way before you take the tape off, just let it all the way dry before you take the tape back off of it, it will help the paper to stay really flat and crisp. So that's what I did for this, and as you can see, it worked great. It's totally, completely flat. There's no bends or anything like that. Okay, That's the basics. And then something else that I use is a carrying kit. So a lot of the time when I'm watercoloring, I'm out on a hike, I'm traveling, something like that. So I like to have something to put all of my supplies in, and I'll either cut some pieces of paper in smaller bits to fit into like a laptop carrier like this, or I have a sketchbook that I'll bring with me. I have yet to find a sketchbook that I really, really like the quality of, so I'll try to find one and link it. But I just use laptop cases like this that just zip up and I can put it in the wash if it gets a lot of paint on it. I'm not really worried about ruining it, and it's super easy to carry, protects my paints and protects my brushes as well so they don't get bent or caught on anything. And then when I'm traveling also, I tend to bring a spray bottle like this to damp my paints. And also if you take the lid off, then you can put your brush in it and it keeps some water for you. Sometimes I'll use like an Altoids tin or something like that as my water tray. But this is just like a Bath & Body Works air spray that I finished using and just refilled it with water. So that's great just to keep it moist and have something for your brushes if I'm at home. I generally use like an old tea tin, an old can, something like that for my water, and just paper towels. And I just set my brush on my paper towel to dry off. And honestly, it's super simple. I mean, again, like most of this is reused materials, especially the traveling kit part. I mean, you've got like a tin can and a laptop case. So it's nothing complicated, nothing expensive. But yeah, I just wanted to explain to you kind of how my journey has been with finding products to use and to recommend some to you so that hopefully you can have some shortcuts. If you're inspired by this video or any other videos on my channel, I would love to see what you're creating. So please post on Instagram and tag me at Ashley Chase Creates. You can also find more of my work there. And check out my channel for some more fun videos. Now that you've got supplies, you can get started watching some tutorials. Have a great day, guys. Bye.